Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to organize my Colourpop singles. I recently decluttered two of my Colourpop palettes. It was the Through My Eyes palette and the Aha Honey palette. You can see this one is now empty. I decided to keep a couple shades, which means that I now have an overflow in this palette. So I also decided to reorganize them now. So you can see here is my majority of my Colourpop singles, but I also have some of them housed here at the bottom, which are the ones that could not fit when it comes to that other palette. So these right here I want to reorganize so that I can fit into this palette ideally, which you might be thinking, how is that going to happen without decluttering? But my goal is to actually make a BYOP in this palette. So I'm going to make a 16 pan BYOP here, and then the rest of the shades should be able to fit in here. So that is my plan for today. I'm going to jump into the organization, but before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so we're going to start by taking these shades out and putting them on the side, just so we can have all of the shades kind of in one area. As you can see, there's a lot of yellows here, which is from the Aha Honey palette, and some of the rest are also then from the Colourpop From My Eyes palette. So that's kind of what's in here. Some of the shades in here are also through the From My Eyes palette, so I already kind of took some of them out, but here we have the shades that we're going to work with. My plan, I have a plan with my Colourpop singles, and I do want to kind of get out the shades that have pan on them already, so I am gonna take them out of the palette and put everything else back in here, and I think that's what I'm gonna work on for my BYOP, and it's the one that already have pan. So let me go ahead and pick those out. Alright, so on the top there, which might be slightly overframed, I think it's still fine, and we have all of the ones with pan, which is quite a few, and then here we have the palette without pans. Actually, there's one more pan there which I didn't see, but yeah, these here don't have pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in these shadows that don't have pan in this palette, usually they're in here, and then we're going to work on all of the ones that have pan. So something like that. So we now have a lot of space, which is good, but first of all I want to go through and make a BYOP again for this palette right here. So I need to start thinking of like what shades are going to go in, because of course we have some overlap in this palette right there. We have a lot of these kind of like the crease shades. I don't need all of them, for example. I'll have quite a few purples, but they might be nice to use together. What I don't have is a lot of shimmer shades, so I only have 4. Well, one is the pressed glitter, so I think I'm going to keep in all 4 of those just because, you know, again, I don't have too many shimmers and I don't want this to be an all matte palette. So let me go ahead and pick those 4 out to start. And yes, some of these are quite similar, but again, I think it's still going to work, and we have different undertones, which is fine. So those are 4. Actually, 2 of these are originally from the From My Eyes palette, which are these 2 shades right here. So I might put them back in their own places just to have something to work off of. And then for the rest, let me reorganize these a little bit. Okay, something like that. So we have a kind of light translucent shades into more pinky shades, into the purples and plums and the black. So first up, I do think I don't need both of these. I don't know which one I'm going to pick yet, but that's one. I might need this one too, because it's a little bit different than the other ones. A shade that I definitely want to pull in, which is quite unique, is this one right here, which is the shade Buzzkill from the Aha Honey palette. I really like that shade. That can come in. But again, obviously with all of these, I don't need all of those kind of transition shades. So the question is which ones I want to pull in. I think this shade here is quite beautiful. This is the shade Bel Air, which is more of a cooler tone transition. Then these 2 I think are both from this palette originally, so they could be nice to have back in, but not sure. This one is also quite similar to that one, but it could also be used to blend that out, so that could be fun. We'll see. I'll think about that. However, this one here I think is another beautiful undertone transition shade, so that can come in, and again one of these 2. And I think the most different one is this one here, so I'm going to pull in that one too. And that means we have 8 shades, which means half of the palette for now. let's pause on these three here and go on to these shades over there. I do think both of these are quite pretty shades. They're different than everything else, and I think they will work quite nicely with what is here. They can work with this shimmer shade, for example. And then for the rest of these here, I don't think I'll need both of these. They're quite similar. Question is which one of those two I want to pull in. Let's see how many shades I can have in. So I can have 6 more shades in here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shades. So only 2 that doesn't have to go in here. So maybe I should think about it that way. And considering that I should pull in the most different ones, which I definitely think will be the black. That should definitely come in. Also this one here would be quite a beautiful shade. Not sure where it's going to go yet, but that's quite different too. Again, I don't think I'm going to pull both of these, but then I should probably pull in this purple, which sticks out a little bit. I don't really know which shimmer we'll go with. Maybe this one here, but it could be fun as a pop of color. And then again, I'm going to use one of these two, and then probably one of those, or I guess I have to do 2 of them, which is going to be quite a lot. But this one I'm definitely not going to do, and then definitely not one of these, which means both of these 2 will need to come in. But again, they're both from this palette, so they can be in together, and I think maybe they will be nice to blend out these like lighter shades, which will mean I have, you know, a lot to go with. This is again definitely more of a mid-toned to light palette with obviously a couple dark shades, but that's kind of what I like anyway, so it will work pretty nicely, I think. Then the question is just if I want to go with this shade or this shade. And looking at what is here, I think this more neutral purple will fit better into the vibe. So I think I'm going to go with that, which means these 2 shades will have to go back into this palette. But yeah, that is those shades. I need to reorganize them and decide how they're going to go in here, so let me do that quickly. I was trying to do columns, so like more I don't know, these 2 yellows go together, these more neutral tones, the warmer tones, and the pinkier tones, but it doesn't really work with the purples if I'm being honest. But I don't hate this layout either. You know what, I'm not going to complicate it. I think I'm going to stick with this layout. Only thing is if I want to move them around at all, maybe get the black in that corner. So maybe switch these 2 around. That might be quite nice. This row annoys me a little bit though. It's hard, but I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go like that. I'm just going to wing it. I can always move them later if I want to. Alright, and there we have it. So this is going to be this palette. It's just like a BYOP. It's not anything that's like a revolutionary or anything, but I wanted to get these eyeshadows with pans out, and I think it's going to be one that I can actually reach for quite a lot. It has a lot of these useful shades for me. Not too many shimmers though, but I think these are still very nice. And then some pop of purples, which wasn't like ideal. I probably would have done something different if I had more shades with pans, but I think this will still work. So that is going to be this BYOP finished. And that leaves me with this palette here. Again, I do have some, oh, I just realized I have one more pan here. It's a light purple. Oh, interesting. Let me see if I want to switch that in here or not, because I could do a purple row now, since I have that, and get out one of these like lighter ones, like for example this one. Do I want to do that? No, I'm not going to complicate it. It would have been nice maybe, but I feel like this palette works, and I can still use this mauve tone to blend out these purple tones. So I'm gonna leave it. I don't think I'm gonna get as much use out of that purple, so yeah, I'm gonna leave that and leave this palette as is for now. So like I said, I have some plans with this palette, which means I'm not gonna actually do too much reorganization here. I'm gonna move these ones up so that all of these shades are kind of like organized at least. And then we have these 3 left with pans, which I might put down here, or I might move them out of the palette. You know what I'll actually do? I'll move these out of the palette, because again, then they will be out of the way for the rest. Yeah, they used to be housed in here for now, which is fine. You can barely see that, but that's just my singles palette. I have some other random shadows down here, so that's fine. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, and move that out of the way. And I think that is gonna be it for this organization. Again, it's not gonna stay like this. I'm gonna do that in a different video. Again, I have plans for these. So what I'll do is I'll leave this for now, and that will be it. Again, these will happen, something will happen with these later on. And then again, I do have that BYOP, which won't be considered a palette in my collection. It will stay with my singles, but it's just a way to get these out of the palette, and also just to have a nice palette to play around with, because I think this actually really is intriguing me, especially these top rows here. That is right up my alley right now with what I like, which obviously probably why I have pan on all these too. But yeah, very, very excited to have these in one place. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. I really hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.